The poker chips clinked against each other as I stacked them on the table, their metallic sound echoing in the silence of my apartment. Every Saturday night for the past 3 months, I'd been coming home to this same routine, counting my winnings or losses while Ivy pretended to be asleep in our bedroom. Tonight was different. Tonight, I'd folded early and decided to surprise her with takeout from her favorite Thai place. My name is Eli Parish, and I run a small electrical contracting business here in Rochester. Nothing fancy, just honest work keeping the lights on for folks who need them. Ivy had been living with me for 8 months now, ever since she lost her job at the marketing firm downtown. She wasn't on the lease, something I'd been meaning to fix but never got around to. Trust, I guess. That's what relationships are built on, right? The key slid into the lock with its familiar scrape, and I pushed open the door expecting to find her curled up on the couch, watching Netflix. Instead, I found her curled up on the couch with someone else entirely. Jesus Christ! The voice belonged to Marcus, Ivy's ex-boyfriend from college. He was scrambling to pull his pants up while Ivy grabbed for a throw pillow to cover herself. The coffee table was knocked askew, 2 wine glasses shattered on the hardwood floor I'd refinished myself last spring. Eli, wait, I can explain. Ivy's voice cracked as she reached for her clothes scattered across my grandmother's antique rug. Explain what exactly? I set the Thai food down on the kitchen counter, my hands surprisingly steady. Explain why you're naked with your ex in my living room on a Saturday night when I'm supposed to be playing poker until midnight? Marcus had his shirt on backwards and was fumbling with his belt. Look, man, this isn't what it looks like. Really? Because it looks like you're screwing my girlfriend in my apartment. I pulled out my phone and held up the key ring. See this? This is my key to my apartment, where I pay the rent. That's when Marcus did something that still makes me laugh. He pulled out his own phone and started dialing. What are you doing? Ivy whispered, her face pale. I'm calling the police. This guy just broke into your place. I stared at him for a long moment, then started laughing. Not the kind of laugh you hear at comedy shows, but the kind that comes from somewhere deep and dark and tired. You're going to call the police, I said slowly, and tell them that I broke into my own apartment. The apartment where my name is on the lease, where my mail gets delivered, where I've been paying utilities for 2 years. Marcus lowered his phone, the reality of the situation finally penetrating his panic-addled brain. How long? I asked Ivy, who was now fully dressed and crying. How many Saturdays? She shook her head, tears streaming down her cheeks. It's not what you think, Eli. We were just talking and things got out of hand. How many Saturdays? I don't have to answer that, she sobbed. You're being cruel. Marcus grabbed his jacket from the floor. I should go. Yeah, you should. I stepped aside to let him pass. But Marcus, next time you want to play house with someone, make sure it's not in someone else's house. After he left, Ivy tried to explain. She felt neglected. I worked too much. She was lonely on Saturday nights. The usual script that cheaters read from when they get caught. But something was nagging at me. Something about the way they'd both panicked so quickly, like they'd been caught before. I waited until she went to shower, probably to wash off the guilt, then pulled out my phone and texted Mrs. Chen, the elderly woman who lived in the apartment below us. Hey, Mrs. Chen, this might sound weird, but have you noticed anyone coming to visit while I'm out on Saturday nights, having some security concerns? Her response came back in less than 5 minutes. Oh yes, that young man with the red car. He usually arrives around 9 p.m. on Saturdays. I thought you knew. He's been coming for months. Months. I sat down on the couch where I'd found them, the cushions still warm, and tried to process this information. Every Saturday for months, while I was out losing money at poker and thinking about how lucky I was to have someone waiting for me at home, Ivy was entertaining her ex-boyfriend in my living room. The shower was still running when I remembered the building's security system. Our landlord had installed cameras in the lobby 6 months ago after a break-in. If Marcus had been coming here regularly, there would be a record. I called the building manager, a guy named Pete, who owed me a favor after I'd rewired his kitchen for free. Pete, I need to ask you about the lobby cameras. Can you check how many times a red Honda Civic has been in our visitor spots on Saturday nights? License plate? I had to think for a moment. I'd seen Marcus's car before at parties. License plate starts with JMK. Give me 10 minutes, Pete said. I'll call you back. Ivy came out of the bathroom in her robe, her hair wrapped in one of my towels. Eli, can we please talk about this like adults? Sure, let's talk. I gestured to the chair across from me. How many Saturday nights has Marcus been coming over? It's not what you think. I asked Mrs. Chen. She says months, Ivy. Every Saturday at 9 p.m., right after I leave for poker. Her face went white. You talked to the neighbors? I talked to one neighbor. Should I talk to more? Should I ask Pete to check the security footage? My phone rang. Pete. Eli, you're not going to like this. That Honda's been in your visitor spot every Saturday night for the past 11 weeks. Same time, same spot. Always leaves around midnight. I thanked Pete and hung up. Ivy was staring at me with something that looked like fear. 11 weeks, I said. 11 Saturday nights. You've been planning this, haven't you? Waiting for me to leave, then calling him over for your little coffee dates. It wasn't planned. Bullshit. I stood up and walked to the window, looking down at the parking lot where Marcus's red Honda was nowhere to be seen. You know what the funny part is? I actually felt guilty sometimes for leaving you alone on Saturday nights. I thought about skipping poker, staying home with you. But you didn't want me to stay home, did you? You needed me gone. She started crying again, but this time it felt different. Less like remorse and more like frustration at getting caught. Where am I supposed to go? She whispered. That's when I realized something that should have occurred to me months ago. I walked to my desk and pulled out the lease agreement. Ivy's name wasn't on it. She wasn't a tenant. She was a guest who'd been violating the terms of her stay in the most fundamental way possible. You have 30 days, I said, holding up the lease. 30 days to find somewhere else to live. You can't just kick me out. Actually, I can. You're not on the lease, Ivy. You're not a tenant. You're someone I allowed to stay here, and now I'm asking you to leave. She stood up, her face flushed with anger. I'll tell everyone what kind of person you really are, how controlling and paranoid you are. Go ahead. Tell them about the security footage, too. Tell them about the 11 Saturday nights. I'm sure our friends will be very interested in that story. The next morning, I woke up alone for the first time in 8 months. Ivy had packed a bag and gone to stay with her sister, claiming she needed space to think. I made coffee in the silence of my apartment and tried to figure out how I'd been so blind. My phone buzzed with a text from Jake, one of my poker buddies. Hey man, Ivy's posting some crazy stuff on Facebook about you. Might want to check it out. I didn't have Facebook, but Jake sent me screenshots. Ivy had written a long post about how I'd kicked her out over a misunderstanding and how she was learning who her real friends are. The comments were already piling up, mostly from her girlfriends offering support and calling me various unflattering names. I called Jake back. Can you do me a favor? Can you share something for me? What kind of something? The truth. Pete sent me the security footage from our building. 11 Saturday nights, Jake. 11 weeks of her ex coming over while I was at poker. There was a long silence on the other end. Jesus, Eli, that's really messed up. Can you share the video just to set the record straight? Yeah, man, absolutely. Within an hour, Jake had posted the security footage on his Facebook page, tagging 3 mutual friends who'd commented on Ivy's post. The video was grainy but clear enough, timestamps showing Marcus arriving every Saturday at 9:15 p.m. and leaving at 11:45 p.m., 15 minutes before I usually got home. My phone started ringing. First Sarah, then Mike, then Jennifer, all of them apologizing, all of them saying they had no idea. The comments on Ivy's post had shifted dramatically. Instead of support, she was getting questions. Hard questions. That afternoon, I got a message from someone I didn't recognize. A woman named Lisa. "Hi, I hope this isn't weird, but I'm Marcus's girlfriend. I saw the video your friend posted. We've been together for 6 months, and he told me he was working late on Saturday nights. Can we talk?" I agreed to meet Lisa at a coffee shop downtown. She was younger than I'd expected, maybe 25, with the kind of earnest face that made you want to protect her from the world's ugliness. "How long did you know?" she asked, stirring her latte with shaking hands. "I found out Saturday night. Came home early and caught them." 6 months, she whispered. We've been together for 6 months, and he's been cheating on me every single week." I felt sorry for her, but I also felt something else, a kind of grim satisfaction that the truth was finally coming out. "What are you going to do?" "I don't know. We live together. We have a lease together." She looked up at me with red-rimmed eyes. "Did you love her?" "I thought I did. But you can't really love someone you don't know, can you? And I clearly didn't know her at all." Lisa nodded and pulled out her phone. "I'm going to post this conversation on my social media. Marcus's friends should know what kind of person he is." "That's your call," I said. "But Lisa, don't let anyone tell you this was your fault. Don't let anyone tell you that you should have seen the signs or that you weren't enough. Some people are just broken inside." She smiled for the first time since we'd sat down. "Thank you. And Eli? I'm sorry this happened to you too." That evening, I was rewiring a circuit breaker for Mrs. Patterson, an elderly client who always paid in cash and homemade cookies, when my phone started buzzing non-stop. Jake was calling. "Dude, you need to see this. Lisa posted everything on Instagram, and it's going viral. Not like internet viral, but viral for our little circle. Everyone's sharing it." When I got home, I looked at the screenshots Jake sent me. Lisa had posted a long, detailed account of her conversation with me, along with photos of texts Marcus had sent her claiming he was working late every Saturday. She'd also posted some of the security footage Jake had shared. The response was immediate and brutal. Marcus's friends were distancing themselves. Ivy's post had been deleted, but not before dozens of people had screenshotted. By Monday morning, the entire story had spread through our social circle like wildfire. That's when things got ugly. Tuesday afternoon, I was finishing up a job at the community center when 3 guys I used to consider friends walked in: Tom, Steve, and Danny, all part of the same extended friend group that included Ivy and Marcus. "We need to talk," Tom said, his voice tight with anger. I set down my wire strippers and looked at them. Tom was a big guy, used to getting his way through intimidation. Steve and Danny flanked him like backup singers. "What's on your mind, Tom?" "What you did to Ivy was screwed up, man. Putting her business out there for everyone to see." "Her business?" I laughed, but there was no humor in it. "Tom, she was screwing her ex in my apartment every Saturday for 3 months. How is that her business and not mine?" "You didn't have to humiliate her publicly," Steve chimed in. "You could have handled this privately." "Like she handled her relationship with Marcus privately?" I picked up my tools and started packing them away. Funny how when she was posting lies about me on Facebook, none of you had a problem with public humiliation. Danny stepped forward. "Look, we've known Ivy longer than we've known you. She's family to us." "And what am I?" "You're the guy who's been dating her for 8 months, Tom said. "She's been our friend for years." I felt something cold settle in my chest. "I see. So when your friend of years was cheating on me every week in my own home, that was okay. But when I provided evidence of what actually happened, I'm the bad guy." "It's not that simple," Steve started. "It's exactly that simple." I shouldered my tool bag. "You've chosen sides. That's fine. But don't come into my workplace and try to make me feel guilty for telling the truth. Tom stepped closer, close enough that I could smell the beer on his breath. You better watch yourself, Eli. You've made some enemies. Have I? I pulled out my phone and opened the recording app. Tom, are you threatening me? Because I want to make sure I get this right. His face flushed red. Put that away. No, I don't think I will. See, I've learned something recently about the importance of documentation. So please continue. Tell me exactly what kind of enemies I've made and what they might do about it. Steve grabbed Tom's arm. Come on, man. Let's go. They left, but not before Tom turned back at the door. This isn't over. I finished packing my tools in the silence of the community center's electrical room, my hands steady despite the adrenaline coursing through my veins. So that's how it was going to be. Ivy and Marcus had managed to spin this into a story where I was the villain, and apparently, it was working. That night, I called my sister Connie in Buffalo. Connie was 2 years older than me and had the kind of sharp tongue that could cut glass when she was angry. Let me get this straight, she said, after I'd told her the whole story. You caught your girlfriend cheating with her ex in your apartment. You provided evidence of a months-long pattern of deception, and now her friends are mad at you for not keeping quiet about it. That's about the size of it. And these are people you considered friends? We're friends. Past tense, apparently. Connie was quiet for a moment. Eli, do you remember when we were kids and that bully Kevin Morrison used to pick on you at school? Yeah. Do you remember what Dad told you? I smiled for the first time all day. He said that sometimes people show you who they really are, and when they do, you should believe them. Exactly. Your so-called friends just showed you who they really are. They're the kind of people who think loyalty means protecting liars and cheaters. Do you really want those people in your life? No, I said, and meant it. I really don't. Good. Now, what are you going to do about it? That was the question, wasn't it? What was I going to do about it? Friday night, I was having a beer at Murphy's Tavern, a dive bar on the east side where the music was too loud and the lights were too dim. I'd been going there since college, back when the owner's father ran the place and the jukebox still had actual vinyl records. I was halfway through my second beer when Tom, Steve, and Danny walked in. They spotted me immediately. Not hard to do since I was the only person sitting alone at the bar on a Friday night. They took the table directly behind me, close enough that I could hear every word they said. Look at him, Tom said, his voice loud enough to carry over the music. Sitting there feeling sorry for himself. Maybe we should go talk to him, Danny suggested. What's the point? Steve replied. Guy's a psycho. Did you see what he did to Ivy? Put her whole life on blast because she made one mistake. I finished my beer and ordered another. The bartender, a woman named Mary who'd been working there for 15 years, gave me a look that said she'd heard everything. One mistake, Tom repeated, laughing. Right, like it was an accident, like she tripped and fell on her ex's dick 11 times. They all laughed at that. I turned around on my bar stool to face them. You know, Tom, if you've got something to say to me, you can say it to my face. Tom stood up, swaying slightly. He'd clearly been drinking before they got here. All right, I'll say it to your face. You're a vindictive piece of shit who destroyed a good woman's reputation because your ego couldn't handle being cheated on. A good woman, I repeated. A good woman who lied to me for 3 months, used my apartment as her personal brothel, and then tried to make me look like the bad guy when I caught her. She made one mistake. 11 mistakes, I corrected. 11 deliberate, planned, calculated mistakes. Every Saturday for 11 weeks. Steve stood up too. You didn't have to ruin her life. I didn't ruin her life. I told the truth about her life. There's a difference. Bullshit, Danny said, joining his friends. You could have kept it between you and her. Instead, you made sure everyone knew. I looked at the three of them, standing there in their righteous indignation, defending a woman who'd been systematically deceiving me for months. Something inside me snapped. You want to know why I made sure everyone knew? I stood up, facing them. Because she posted lies about me on social media first. Because she tried to make me look like an abusive boyfriend who kicked her out for no reason. Because she was going to let you all think I was some kind of monster while she played the victim. So you destroyed her reputation to save yours, Tom said. I corrected the record with facts and evidence. If the truth destroyed her reputation, maybe her reputation wasn't worth saving. Tom stepped closer. You know what your problem is, Eli? You can't handle the fact that she didn't want you anymore. You can't handle the fact that she chose someone else. She didn't choose someone else, I said quietly. She chose to lie to me while keeping me around for whatever I could provide. She chose to have her cake and eat it too, and when she got caught, she chose to lie about that too. Maybe if you'd been a better boyfriend. That's when I lost it. A better boyfriend? My voice rose loud enough that the entire bar turned to look at us. Tom, let me ask you something. If you came home and found your girlfriend screwing another guy in your apartment, what would you do? I wouldn't put her business on the internet. Really? What if she then posted on Facebook that you'd kicked her out over a misunderstanding? What if she made you look like an abuser? What if she turned all your mutual friends against you with lies? What would you do then? Tom's face was red with anger and alcohol. I'd handle it like a man. How? How would you handle it like a man? By keeping quiet while she destroyed your reputation? By letting everyone think you were the bad guy? By protecting the woman who betrayed you? I wouldn't be such a vindictive prick about it. I laughed, but it wasn't a pleasant sound. Tom, you're standing here defending a woman who cheated on me for months, lied about it, then lied about my reaction to it. You're calling me vindictive for telling the truth. Do you see the problem with that? The problem, Steve interjected, is that you can't let it go. It's been a week, and you're still talking about it. I'm still talking about it because you three walked into my bar and decided to confront me about it. I was sitting here minding my own business until you showed up to defend your precious Ivy. She's our friend, Danny said. And what was I? The question hung in the air like smoke. Tom, Steve, and Danny looked at each other, but none of them answered. That's what I thought, I said. I was never your friend. I was just Ivy's boyfriend. And now that I'm not Ivy's boyfriend anymore, I'm nothing to you. That's not, Steve started. It's exactly true, I cut him off. You've known me for 2 years. You've been to my apartment. You've eaten my food, drunk my beer, watched games on my TV. But when push came to shove, you chose the cheater over the guy who got cheated on. You chose the liar over the guy who told the truth. Tom stepped even closer, close enough that I could see the broken blood vessels in his eyes. You know what? You're right. We did choose. We chose the person who made one mistake over the person who can't forgive and forget. 11 mistakes, I corrected again. And I'm not required to forgive someone who's not sorry for what they did. I'm not required to forget systematic deception and betrayal. You're required to be a decent human being. That's when Mary the bartender intervened. Gentlemen, take it outside or take it somewhere else. I'm not having a fight in my bar. Tom looked at me with pure hatred. This isn't over, Eli. Yes, it is, I said calmly. It's completely over. You've chosen your side. I've chosen mine. We have nothing more to say to each other. They left, but not before Tom knocked over a chair on his way out. Mary came over and refilled my beer without being asked. You okay, honey? Yeah, I said, and realized I meant it. I'm better than okay. I'm free. The following Monday, I was installing new outlets in a law office downtown when my phone rang. The caller ID showed a number I didn't recognize. Eli Parish. Mr. Parish, this is Detective Foster with the Rochester Police Department. We need to talk. My blood went cold. About what? About some allegations that have been made against you. Can you come down to the station this afternoon? I finished the job in record time and drove to the police station with my hands shaking. Detective Foster was a tired-looking woman in her 50s with gray hair and sharp eyes. Mr. Parish, we've received a complaint that you've been harassing and stalking your ex-girlfriend, Ivy Morrison. I stared at her. I've been what? According to Miss Morrison, you've been following her, showing up at her workplace, and posting intimate details about her private life online. Detective Foster, I haven't seen or spoken to Ivy since she moved out of my apartment 10 days ago. I haven't been to her workplace, I haven't followed her anywhere, and I haven't posted anything about her online. What about the security footage that's been circulating on social media? That footage shows her ex-boyfriend coming to my apartment building every Saturday night for 11 weeks. I shared it with one friend after she posted lies about me on Facebook. That's not harassment. That's setting the record straight. Detective Foster consulted her notes. Miss Morrison says you've been sending her threatening messages. From what phone number? From what email address? Detective, I haven't contacted her at all. I don't even have her new address. She says you've been using fake accounts. I pulled out my phone. Detective, I don't have any social media accounts except for a LinkedIn profile for my business. I can give you my phone records, my internet history, whatever you need to verify that. Detective Foster studied me for a long moment. Mr. Parish, I have to ask, do you have any proof of Miss Morrison's alleged infidelity? Besides the security footage? Yes. I pulled out my phone and showed her the text conversation with Mrs. Chen, the building manager's confirmation about the visitor logs, and the timestamps from the lobby camera system. This shows a pattern of deception spanning 11 weeks, Detective Foster said, scrolling through the evidence. Yes, it does. And you discovered this how? I told her the whole story, coming home early, finding them together, Marcus trying to call the police, the subsequent investigation into how long it had been going on. Mr. Parish, I'm going to be honest with you. This complaint feels like someone trying to use the police to win a personal dispute. The evidence you've shown me indicates that Miss Morrison was engaged in a pattern of deceptive behavior, and your response was to document and share that evidence. That's not harassment. So what happens now? Now I'm going to have another conversation with Miss Morrison about filing false police reports, and I'm going to suggest that she might want to focus on moving forward rather than trying to rewrite history. I left the police station feeling vindicated but also exhausted. How had my life become this complicated? 2 weeks ago, I'd been a guy with a girlfriend and a circle of friends. Now I was a guy with enemies and a police file. That evening, I got a call from Lisa, Marcus's now ex-girlfriend. Eli, I thought you should know. Marcus has been telling people that you threatened him at the construction site. What construction site? The one where he works. He's saying you showed up there and threatened to hurt him if he didn't stay away from Ivy. I laughed, but it wasn't funny. Lisa, I don't even know where Marcus works. I've never been to any construction site to see him. I've never threatened him with anything except calling his bluff about the police. I know. I just thought you should be aware that he's spreading lies about you. Thanks for the heads up. Are you doing okay? Better than okay. I found out he's been cheating on me with other women too, not just Ivy. Apparently, Saturday nights were just one of his regular schedules. Jesus, Lisa. I'm sorry. Don't be. I'm glad I found out who he really was before we got married. He actually proposed to me last month. After we hung up, I sat in my apartment thinking about the web of lies that had been spun around this situation. Ivy claiming I was harassing her. Marcus claiming I'd threatened him. Tom and his friends claiming I was vindictive and cruel. But I had something they didn't have, the truth and the evidence to back it up. I called my sister Connie. They're trying to bury you under bullshit, she said after I'd told her about the police complaint and Marcus's lies. Yeah, they are. So what are you going to do about it? I'm going to document everything. Every lie, every false accusation, every attempt to manipulate the narrative. And then I'm going to make sure everyone knows exactly who these people really are. That sounds like a plan, but Eli? Yeah? Be careful. Desperate people do desperate things. 2 weeks later, I was finishing up a rewiring job at the community college when I got a text from Jake. Dude, you need to see this. Ivy and Marcus are at Murphy's together, telling everyone who'll listen that you're stalking them. I drove to Murphy's and parked across the street, not to stalk anyone, but to see what was happening. Through the window, I could see Ivy and Marcus at a table surrounded by Tom, Steve, Danny, and several other people I recognized from our former friend group. I called Mary, the bartender. Mary, it's Eli Parish. I'm sitting outside your bar right now, and I can see Ivy and Marcus inside. Are they talking about me? Honey, they've been here for 2 hours telling anyone who'll listen that you've been following them around town, leaving threatening notes on their cars and trying to get them fired from their jobs. Mary, I've been working at the community college all day. I have witnesses and time cards to prove it. This is the first time I've been anywhere near downtown in a week. I believe you, sweetie, but they've got quite an audience in here. I made a decision that would change everything. Mary, can you do me a favor? Can you turn up the music and dim the lights a little? I want to come in and hear exactly what they're saying. You sure that's a good idea? I'm sure. I walked into Murphy's and took a seat at the far end of the bar, in the shadows where I could hear but not be easily seen. Mary brought me a beer without being asked. And yesterday he was parked outside my work again, Ivy was saying, her voice carrying across the bar. Just sitting there, watching me. It's getting really scary. Have you called the police? Someone asked. I did, but they said they can't do anything unless he actually approaches me, Marcus replied. The guy's completely lost it. He left a note on my car last night, Ivy continued. Really creepy stuff about how I'll pay for what I did. I pulled out my phone and started recording. What did the note say exactly? Tom asked. It said that he knows where I live now, and that cheaters always get what's coming to them, Ivy replied, her voice shaking with what sounded like genuine fear. That's when I stood up and walked over to their table. That's interesting, Ivy, I said, my voice cutting through the bar's ambient noise, because I've never left you a note. I don't know where you live, and I was at the community college yesterday from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m., which I can prove with security footage and time cards. The table went silent. Ivy's face went white. In fact, I continued, pulling out my phone, I've been recording this conversation for the past 10 minutes. So now I have you on tape lying about me stalking you, lying about threatening notes, and lying about me being at your workplace. Marcus stood up. You can't record us without our permission. Actually, in New York State, I can record any conversation I'm a party to without anyone else's permission. And since you're talking about me, I'm definitely a party to this conversation. You're crazy, Ivy whispered. Am I? Let's see. I pulled out my phone and opened my camera roll. Here's my time card from yesterday showing I was at work. Here's the security footage from the college showing me entering at 8 a.m. and leaving at 6 p.m. Here's my GPS history from my phone showing I went straight home after work. I looked around the table at their shocked faces. Now, let's talk about those threatening notes. Ivy, do you have one of these notes? Can you show it to everyone here? She shook her head. That's strange. If someone was leaving you threatening notes, wouldn't you save them as evidence? Wouldn't you take pictures? Wouldn't you call the police immediately? I threw them away, she stammered. All of them? Every single threatening note you allegedly received, you threw away without taking a picture or calling the police? Tom stood up. You need to leave, Eli. Actually, Tom, I was here first. You can check with Mary. I've been sitting at the bar for 20 minutes listening to these two tell elaborate lies about me. If anyone needs to leave, it's the people committing defamation. Defamation? Steve laughed. What are you, a lawyer now? No, but I consulted with one this afternoon, Turns out that making false accusations about someone stalking and threatening you is called defamation per se. It's a serious legal matter. I looked directly at Ivy and Marcus. Here's what's going to happen. You're going to stop telling people that I'm stalking you, because I'm not. You're going to stop claiming that I'm leaving you threatening notes, because I'm not. And you're going to stop trying to turn our mutual friends against me with lies. Or what? Marcus asked. Or I'm going to file a defamation lawsuit against both of you. And I'm going to use this recording as evidence that you've been deliberately spreading false information about me. Ivy started crying. You can't sue us for talking about our experiences. I can't sue you for talking about your experiences, I agreed. But I can sue you for lying about experiences that never happened, and I have the evidence to prove they never happened. I looked around the table one more time. You know what the saddest part of all this is? I used to consider you people my friends. I thought you cared about the truth. I thought you cared about right and wrong. But you don't. You care about taking sides and protecting your own, even when your own are liars and cheaters. I finished my beer and set the empty bottle on their table. Enjoy your evening. And Ivy? Next time you want to make up stories about someone, make sure they don't have alibis. I walked out of Murphy's and drove home, my hands shaking with adrenaline. But for the first time in weeks, I felt like I was winning. The next morning, I woke up to 17 missed calls and 43 text messages. The recording from Murphy's had somehow made its way onto social media, not through me, but apparently through someone else who'd been at the bar. My phone rang. It was Detective Foster. Mr. Parish, I think you should know that Miss Morrison called us again last night claiming you threatened her in a public place. Detective, I have a recording of the entire encounter. I never threatened anyone. In fact, I caught her lying about me on tape. Can you send me that recording? I sent it immediately. 20 minutes later, Detective Foster called back. Mr. Parish, I've listened to your recording. Not only did you not threaten anyone, but Miss Morrison clearly made false statements about you stalking her and leaving threatening notes. What happens now? Now I'm going to have a very serious conversation with Miss Morrison about filing false police reports and making defamatory statements. This is her second false complaint against you, and I don't appreciate having my time wasted. That afternoon, I got a call from a number I didn't recognize. Is this Eli Parish? Yes. This is Robert Morrison, Ivy's father. We need to talk. We met at a coffee shop downtown. Robert Morrison was a big man with gray hair and tired eyes. He looked like he hadn't slept in days. Mr. Parish, I owe you an apology. I raised my eyebrows. For what? For raising a daughter who thinks lying is acceptable? For not teaching her that actions have consequences? For not calling her out on her behavior sooner? I didn't know what to say. I want you to know that her mother and I had no idea what was going on. We believed her story about you being controlling and kicking her out over nothing. But then we saw the security footage, and we heard the recording from last night. He pulled out his phone and showed me a text conversation. This is what I sent her this morning. The text read, Ivy, your mother and I are ashamed of your behavior. You lied to us. You lied to Eli and you lied to the police. Until you're ready to take responsibility for your actions and make genuine amends, you're not welcome in our home. I stared at the phone. You kicked her out? We told her she needs to get help and figure out why she thinks deception and manipulation are acceptable ways to treat people. We've enabled her behavior for too long. Mr. Morrison, I appreciate you telling me this, but you don't owe me anything. Yes, I do. My daughter destroyed a good relationship through her own selfishness, then tried to destroy your reputation when you exposed the truth. That's not the person her mother and I tried to raise. He stood up to leave, then turned back. For what it's worth, Mr. Parish, I think you handled this situation with more class than most people would have. You could have done a lot worse than simply telling the truth. That evening, I was at home when someone knocked on my door. I looked through the peephole and saw Marcus standing in the hallway, looking nervous. I opened the door, but left the chain latch engaged. "What do you want, Marcus?" "I want to apologize." "For what, specifically?" "For everything. For the affair, for trying to call the cops on you that first night, for lying about you threatening me, for backing up Ivy's stories about you stalking her." "Why now?" "Because Ivy's dad called my parents. Turns out our families know each other from way back. He told them everything, the affair, the lies, the false police reports. My dad wants to see me tonight." I almost felt sorry for him. Almost. "Marcus, I appreciate the apology, but it doesn't undo the damage. You and Ivy spent weeks trying to destroy my reputation with lies." "I know, and I'm sorry. We were scared and stupid, and we thought if we could make you look like the bad guy, people would forget what we did." "That's exactly what you thought. And you know what? It almost worked. If I hadn't been able to prove where I was and what I was doing, people might have believed your lies. What can I do to make this right?" I thought about it for a moment. "You can tell the truth. You can go to everyone you lied to and tell them exactly what really happened. You can admit that you and Ivy made up stories about me stalking you and threatening you. You can take responsibility for your actions. And if you do that, I won't sue you for defamation, and I won't press charges for filing false police reports." Marcus nodded. "I'll do it. I'll tell everyone the truth." "See that you do." 3 days later, I was having lunch at a diner downtown when Tom, Steve, and Danny walked in. I braced myself for another confrontation, but instead, Tom approached my table alone. "Eli, can I sit down?" I gestured to the empty chair across from me. "I owe you an apology," he said, not meeting my eyes. "Do you?" "Marcus called me yesterday. He told me the truth about everything, the affair, the lies about you stalking them, the fake stories about threatening notes. All of it." I continued eating my sandwich without responding. "I also talked to Detective Foster. She told me that Ivy filed 2 false police reports against you. And I was wrong. We were all wrong. We chose to believe lies because we wanted to believe them, because it was easier than admitting that our friend was capable of that kind of deception." I set down my sandwich and looked at him. "Tom, 3 weeks ago you came into my workplace and threatened me for telling the truth. Last Friday you stood in a bar and called me vindictive and cruel for exposing a pattern of systematic deception. Now you want to apologize because other people confirmed what I'd been saying all along. I know how that looks." "It doesn't just look bad, Tom. It is bad. You chose to believe the worst about me based on lies, and now you want to be forgiven because the truth finally came out despite your efforts to suppress it." Tom was quiet for a long moment. "What can I do to make this right?" "Nothing," I said simply. "You can't undo the fact that when I needed friends, you chose to be my enemy. You can't undo the fact that you were willing to believe I was a stalker and a threat based on nothing but the word of proven liars. So that's it? Our friendship is over?" "Tom, our friendship ended the day you decided that loyalty meant protecting liars at the expense of truth. I'm just acknowledging what you already chose." He stood up to leave, then turned back. "For what it's worth, I think you're a better man than I am." "You're right," I said. "I am." After he left, I finished my lunch in peace. For the first time in a month, I felt truly calm. That evening, I got a text from Ivy. "Can we please talk? I want to explain." I typed back, "There's nothing to explain. You made your choices, and now you're living with the consequences. Don't contact me again." She tried calling immediately. I blocked her number. An hour later, she called from a different number. I blocked that one too. The next day, she showed up at my workplace. I called the police and had her removed for trespassing. Detective Foster handled the call personally. "Mr. Parish, I think Miss Morrison is finally understanding that her actions have consequences, she said as Ivy was escorted away. This should be the end of it. She was right. I never heard from Ivy again. Epilogue. New beginnings. 6 months later, I was rewiring the electrical system in a renovated warehouse that was being converted into loft apartments. It was good work, challenging, well-paid, and satisfying in the way that only honest labor can be. My phone buzzed with a text from Jake. "Hey man, poker tonight at my place. You in?" I'd been avoiding the poker games since the whole situation with Ivy, but it was time to get back to normal life. "I'll be there," I typed back. That night, I walked into Jake's basement to find a table full of new faces, guys I'd never met before, all of them electricians or contractors like myself. Working men who understood the value of honesty and straight dealing. "Eli, meet the crew," Jake said. "This is Mike, Dave, and Frank. Guys, this is Eli, the one I told you about." Mike shook my hand. "Jake told us what happened with your ex and those fake friends. That's rough, man." "It was," I agreed, "but it taught me something important about the difference between real friends and fair-weather friends." "What's that?" Dave asked. "Real friends believe you until you give them a reason not to. Fair-weather friends believe everyone else until you prove them wrong." Frank nodded. "Sounds like you're better off without them." "I definitely am." As I sat down at the poker table and picked up my cards, I realized something. I was genuinely happy for the first time in months. Not because I'd gotten revenge on the people who'd wronged me, but because I'd discovered who I really was when everything was stripped away. I was someone who told the truth, even when it was inconvenient. Someone who stood up for himself even when he was outnumbered. Someone who didn't compromise his integrity for the sake of keeping the peace. The chips clinked against each other as I stacked them, their metallic sound echoing in the comfortable silence of Jake's basement. These were good men, honest men, the kind of men who understood that your word is your bond and your character is your most valuable possession. I looked at my cards. A pair of aces, a strong hand, but not unbeatable. Just like life, poker was about playing the cards you're dealt with skill and patience, and never letting anyone bluff you out of a pot you deserve to win. "I'll raise," I said, pushing chips into the center of the table. Outside, it started to rain, but inside Jake's basement, surrounded by men who understood the value of truth and loyalty, I'd never felt warmer. Some people think revenge is about destruction, about tearing down the people who wronged you, but real revenge is simpler than that. Real revenge is living well, surrounding yourself with good people, and never compromising who you are for anyone. I'd lost a girlfriend, a brother, and several friends. But I'd gained something more valuable. The knowledge that I could trust myself to do the right thing even when it cost me everything. The poker game continued late into the night, filled with laughter and honest conversation. When I finally went home, I walked into my apartment, with my name on the lease and my belongings arranged exactly how I wanted them, and felt a deep sense of satisfaction. I'd cut the wire that connected me to people who didn't deserve my loyalty, and in doing so, I'd rewired my entire life. The current was flowing clean and strong now, powering a future built on truth, integrity, and genuine friendship. Some might say I was vindictive. Some might say I was cruel. But I knew better. I was just an electrician who understood that when you find a short circuit, you don't ignore it and hope for the best. You fix it.